welcome back to Navigating Neva. I am your host, Neva Nicole, and I am here with my co-host, Wes,
Hey everybody.
and we're diving deep into all things aquatics, safety, and sports, and I'm especially excited for today's guest. He's the voice behind Heavy or Not, and a podcast that I've listened to and loved, and he's also involved with ISCA and passionate about gameplay and water polo. So please welcome Mark.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for organizing this.
Our first podcast host on our podcast, right, Nicole?
He is. We're very
That's it.
excited to have
We'll
you,
take
Mark.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
So, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. And before we jump in, can you share a little bit about what inspired you to start Heavy or Not and what you love about those conversations?
Well, people don't read as much as they used to. Back in the day, I published a bunch of books, and or people just even don't read online learning as much. So I wanted to be able to share ideas and percolate some good thoughts. And the podcast is a way to think about other things while you're walking the dog or doing the dishes or taking a road trip. So, it was just everybody's doing a podcast. So that was sort of important to me. And I like to be able to blend those different media, a little bit of music in there, a little bit of the spoken word, try to use some AI in ways that then could be a bit of a learning and academic exercise for myself, but then it can be a way to share it with others. So I just been a bit of a labor of love. I started it in the very beginning of 2025. So it's just percolating along. I called the first 50 episodes season one. So we're now sort of moving into season two after the 50 flip turn.
Nice. Good callback to 50 flip turn. That well played. Well played. You're not a swim coach by chance, are you? That wouldn't tie back into some of
Oh
your
yeah.
background there a little bit. Would you mind giving the audience a little bit of background? We know you in the aquatic profession, but from your training to your certification to your work with ISCA, would you mind giving the audience a little bit of background of who you are and where you
Sure.
come from?
Sure. I was a swim coach back in 1976. So I guess it's been about 50 years. And more recently, I've been a high school coach. And even then, a couple years ago, I asked the school where I was at, I said, can I take a sabbatical? I got these fun projects I really want to work on. And then they laughed. And then I said, well, okay, make me emeritus coach. And they laughed some more. So, anyways, I sort of tried to downshift. We had two other coaches come on and be head coach. They each have done a year. I think the one woman, Jacqueline's going to come back and coach. So I want to be able to be an assistant to her or support her in the high school varsity season. So I've been doing a lot of high school coaching in the last 20 years or so, and but it also gives me an opportunity of do some of the broadcasting for the big championship district meet here, and I've also helped with some community programs around a couple swim pools back in recent times in the day with a neighborhood pool. And it recently, it shut down like maybe 4 years ago or before COVID. And then I also worked for a couple years at a country club pool, ran their pool. So sort of a wide range of things. I've been a college coach more than a dozen years at different levels. Uh, when I went to college back as a journalism major at Ohio University, I then became an assistant coach on the men's team. So for the 4 years I was there, I was an assistant coach, and I also coached the community, the Athens Swim Club Otters. So and that was off and on for most of those 4 years. So yeah, I've coached in a lot of different states, had some fast swimmers, and I've been blessed to been able to lead, and but nothing to the Olympic trials level. There's just a lot of grassroots fun coaching. Most recently, too, I had a big 10 or so years of working with our Pittsburgh Public Schools. They had a summer school program. They called it Summer Dreamers. And it was a way for those kids that were in the bottom two-fifths of their academic standing could go to summer school for free. It started back in the stimulus fund era, and we would then take the kids on half a day for swimming and water polo, and then the other half of the day they'd do some reading and literacy as well as math. And we were sort of like the motivation to keep them coming back. It was
Right.
27
Yeah.
days. And so the kids got some exercise and swimming in, and then they got their academic stuff too. So it was like a half day of each. And so that was a lot of fun working with us as a subcontractor to the school district. Now, lo and behold, this year, Pittsburgh Public Schools did absolutely nothing with any summertime programming for any of the kids at any level. So I've been somewhat frustrated with our local swim scene, especially in the heart of the city.
Wow. But the background as a whole, sometimes the word coach is thrown around. You are the dictionary's definition of it. That's phenomenal. Thank you. And I hope our audience can grasp the level of excellence and effort that goes into that variety. It's not just coaching one level, it's taking all the things you learned and bring them to the schools, bring them to the community, bring them to the collegiate. And I just think that's very respectful. So thank you for sharing that.
So
Absolutely.
if you guys listen to Mark's podcast, he talks about a lot, but the one that I'm referring to is he talks about where I guess we're going to say where the school systems or the states have taken the pools kind of out of what used to be. And he talked about in Pittsburgh what they did. And when I started in the 90s, we did a Saturday morning. I don't know what it was because I was in high school, but they brought the kids over and we basically tutored the children. And the highlight of their morning was we gave them swim lessons and then we tutored them. But who wants tutoring on a Saturday? So the highlight of that was that they got to go swimming and get in the pool. And I mean, that's just not happening that much anymore.
The
When
pool was the all-star then.
Right. Well,
And
the
for
pools
yeah.
are still there though. We're just not using them. When everybody cut the funding for the music and the arts, I think they're missing the point that aquatics was cut too. And when you cut that, you're also losing your water safety aspect. But let's not dive down that hole. You guys should just go listen to his podcast. We want to talk about water polo. Let's start there. So
Yeah.
you started with water polo. It's a very unique sport, but I mean, it's very big out in California and stuff. But for our listeners, let's start there with you and your background.
Well, I've had the pleasure to work with a longtime coach, Monty Niskowski. He was 4 times or 5 times as an Olympic water polo coach, and I put together a big textbook manual of coaching water polo with him. And when we were working on that, I started a local team where I had been the high school coach, sort of an off-season thing, and to maybe use some photographs and such. But yeah, I never was a player of water polo, and that sort of gets me a little less respect among some of the other, real hardcore players. But I've done some officiating with it. We worked on, some books, and we have actually a course on water polo with the International Swim Coaches Association inside our learning management system, just called water polo. So there's some really nice materials there about tactics and strategies and man up and all sorts of things. It's a really dense sport. There's a lot to learn, and I think swim coaches should be able to use water polo more to our advantage to keep the kids engaged. And actually, my son. Uh, he didn't like competitive swimming much, but he loved water polo. So he would swim, a little bit to stay in shape. But boy, if you threw a ball out, his eyes would light up, and some people really loved it. Now, my other son, he was more of a competitive swimmer, so people have sort of different bones about them and different ways to get excited. And the kids that like the team sports or the ball sports, should still be coming to the pool and be playing water polo. And I think there's in some places in California, there's some friction between the swim coaches and the water polo coaches, and they butt heads a lot. And if a swim coach were to take on water polo where it doesn't exist anymore and they could control it. And they say, okay, we're going to do it for these 6 weeks and that's all, or we're going to be able to blend it in here and there. And then they were hiring the water polo coach and giving the pool time. Then you wouldn't have this big dynamic and this big fighting, so it's sort of nice if somebody's at the top, but the swim coach has to be able to, coach the kids a bit, or coach the girls team, or coach the JV team, or be involved. And and I also think that it will add a layer of diversity to the practices. And instead of swimming back and forth all the time, do a little more vertical swimming, do a little more passing, kick with a ball, make it something. Instead of a pool boy, we're going to use a water polo ball instead. And it gets the giggles up. It gets the variety up, the problem solving, and I just think there's a whole dynamic with the gameplay that is different than head down swimming back and forth.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, with
Yeah.
our city kids especially, they're not going to be lap swimmers or take a Serenity kayak tour, but put a ball in front of them, and now they can think about catching like Odell Beckham and throwing it, and getting their competitive juices flowing.
Absolutely. I don't want to go too far before I miss this. If we have not introduced you to Ron Usher, who's one of our sponsors for All Things Aquatics event, let's do that. Maybe you already know Ron, but same mentality behind the play aspect. And the second thing that I loved hearing you say was the pool can be used for anybody who wants to compete. You don't have to love swimming to do it. My son can swim. He would never be a competitive swimmer. I was not a competitive swimmer, but I will play in the pool all day. And so I think your approach to how you go about the connection of water and gamification and understanding water polo is amazing. But also, I want the audience to take one step back. You said something a minute ago, Mark. You talked about you're also an official for water polo. You understand the rules. And I think that's something that we miss, whether it's a coach, whether it's an instructor, whether it's an athlete, is the full perspective, right? You understanding the rules as an official of water polo really can help the team. You can help the community. You can help the setups of the event. And I think that's just something that's often missed. We just coach, or maybe we just officiate. And so I just love that there's a crossover in your mind and your approach to say we've got to combine with the swim team. We've got to be an official, maybe. We've got to work with the community. And I think that's something that can really help the people that don't understand what water polo is or how it can engage with all the things that have to do with the pool. So again, I appreciate the knowledge, but I also appreciate the fact that you've got that multiple layer perspective, and the gamification approach, I think is really cool.
Well, back to Ron for a moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely have hooked up. We
Oh,
did
good.
a webinar on how to make swimming fun, and yeah, I definitely love the idea of Otterball, and we're going to be working together
Oh,
more and
cool.
more on this. Yes, so yeah, he and I are cut from the same cloth in a lot
Yeah,
of
that's what
ways.
made me. Yeah. And my
Yes.
high school didn't have a pool and didn't have a swim team, but we had a big water park. And you know what people do in a water park? They don't swim laps, they play, right? And they bring their beach balls. And so just the fact that you've wrapped your head around that, besides just the competitiveness and, everybody competes, I just think that's a great bridge to anybody that doesn't want to put their face in. And anybody that doesn't want to put their face in for 2 hours in swimming laps over and over and over. I think it just gives a great option.
Yeah, and especially for summer school type things. It's hot in the summer.
Yeah,
Go to the pool. It's
right, right.
you don't want to be on the basketball court when it's 90 or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to be, or even in a gym, they get real like ovens. So let's leverage these pools more in the summertime, that are, especially in our school setting. Now, the other thing is, people don't really want to swim in third period of their academic day,
Right.
so
Mm-hmm.
that now you gotta, your hair's wet, your nails, you got your suits, you got your 40
It's
kids or 35
Chicago or
kids.
Pittsburgh in the winter. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
that's where my world was. Yes, keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
So a lot of the PE teachers just, they're a little frustrated, and the kids are a little frustrated. So a lot of times those swimming pools don't get used for phys ed like they could or should. But it's really hard unless you have like a block scheduling or something like that to to get in and out in a 40-minute period. It is difficult.
Right. To your point about, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, and I think you've started to bridge the gap in Pittsburgh. And I know we talked about Ron. How do you see water polo playing a role in swim development, whether it's Nicole and her Joyful Water swim program at Georgia Swim School, whether it's an independent instructor? How do you see water polo and what you do kind of inserting itself or being an add-on? Because you touched on it, but I think you've got a lot to
Right.
offer there.
Well, I think it's really critical to look at the journey of that child growing up to an adolescent to becoming a young adult. And a lot of kids drop out of competitive swimming when they, figure out, oh, I'm not going to make it to the national team, or I'm not a D1 swimmer, so they hit maybe age 14, 15.
Or they have to
And
practice 16 hours a day. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
so
sorry.
so then, we've got some choices to make. Oh, let them go, and then, you're making this funnel work, and it's getting smaller and smaller at the top. But boy, if we could keep them involved, to be a swim instructor, to be a lifeguard, of course, and also to be a water polo player, or to be an open water swimmer, or to be a triathlete. I think all of those other activities are, extremely valuable for their livelihood and for the program's health. And, so if, and especially like at college, man, there are a lot of college teams that are club based that are dying for water polo players. And, if you can swim, they'll
Mhm.
take you on. You got a new set of buddies, and they're going to teach you water polo. But how great would it be that you go to a place like Carnegie Mellon University here in my town, or W&J, or some are like varsity programs, but some are not, and then you can play water polo. So, and if you're a long-term swimmer, you may have 3, 4, 5 years, and you've never caught the ball with one hand and passed with one hand, or dribbled, with your head up, or so if we could teach some of the basics, and I'm talking about, maybe 20 times a year, they're going to have, a good half hour of water play with the ball. I think that would go a long way. Just being able to, use that hand-eye coordination and control the ball with one hand is, it takes a month or two of practice to get that done. So
Mhm.
I would love to see our age group swimmers all have, some ABCs of water polo, knowing some of the
I like
rules,
that.
knowing, how to catch and pass, knowing how to cover, or guard somebody, or to mark them. Now, some of the kids are coming from soccer or field hockey or ice hockey, or some of the other sports, know that, there are certain kids that love to be goalie, and then you maybe grab some of them in the other sports. Hey, we have a goalie too. Or be a quarterback where the goalie's going to stop the ball, number one, but then lead the counterattack with their passing. So I just think we need to spend a little bit of time as competitive programs playing some water polo, so that then when those kids exit competitive swimming, they have a whole other future for another number of
Hmm.
years, especially at the college club program. And that happens too at CMU, where the kids might swim for 2 or 3 years, and then they're grad student. Okay, well, their competitive swimming eligibility is over, but they can still play club water polo. And
Sure.
and once you're a water polo player, their masters is what I've been involved with in Pittsburgh for a number of years too, is the people love to play, and they'll
Yes.
play, into their 60s, so
Put a life
there's,
jacket on them and a ring buoy, and they're good to
well,
go.
no, these guys are serious.
I'm
Yeah, they're,
teasing. My
yeah,
point
no,
is, it's something you could do forever. It's like a rec
yeah,
basketball league. You could, once you can stay above water and you know the rules, you can survive for a long time doing it.
Right. And so if you have a good water polo background and there's a master's team and you can figure out how to play once a week or something like that, more power to you. And I think that's a great way to socialize. And that's one of the things too that if you're starting from scratch, start with a master's team because then those master players are going to get something out of it just playing themselves. But then you're going to be able to lean on them to be your officials, to help coach those other younger kids, to be the water ball or the junior water polo teams, mentors, then it's going to be able to then snowball. So there's certainly an opportunity. And even if you played a few years, we have a gentleman in our town, he grew up in Russia, came to the States for college. 25 years later, he found out, hey, there's masters. Hey, I'd like to get back into this.
Right.
So
It's
he's a
nostalgic
clin
almost.
yeah, he's a
Yeah, full
clinician in a
circle.
different profession, and holy smokes, I'm going to get back in shape, and I'm gonna, yeah, I played when I was a teenager, and we had a good time, and
Right.
he's blending in now. So, it's just so healthy to have a well-rounded,
Hmm.
multi-age groups, multi-abilities, being able to to socialize and play at the pool.
That is so true. We have FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center here, and I was over there. I'm a Red Cross instructor trainer, so I went to help them do their renewal. And I found out that all the guys play water polo on lunch. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I mean, you have to work, it's hard to get on base over there, get in the gate, but the guys there do. And I thought that was great and fantastic. But let's segue this into your the International Swim Coach Association. I wanted to say that for our listeners that don't know what ISCA is. So you've been connected with them for a while. What excites you most about working with them or your role over there? What is their vision for aquatics?
Well, um, they host great meets. So our president and CEO, Doug Founder, is the meet manager, and we host a number of meets. There's generally two championship meets in short course and two championships in long course that are in St. Petersburg, beautiful facility. And one's an age group meet, prelim final, and the other's a senior meet. And then there are some other meets throughout the year. Just last weekend was one of two open water swims.
Ooh.
They're both in Virginia. One's in Smith Mountain Lake, and the other one's going to be for the first time in Jamestown. And then there's some meets that have been using the Hampton Aquaplex. It's a sort of a newer pool in the Norfolk
Oh,
area. So there's a fall meet in October. There's a December. This is going to be interesting. A short course meters meet, sort of built more like an international one where you swim your birth year rather than
Huh.
your age group. And that's an age group prelim final meet. And then there's another one in January. So the meets are special. The teams that have come really like it, and they always generally come back over and over and over again. So you get to have a travel meet on your schedule. Teams have come from Alaska and Hawaii to Fort Lauderdale, and the teams from Colorado have gone to Norfolk. So you see new people, and that travel experience is just so motivational to the whole team. You're working on the cuts. A couple of those meets are no cut, or what he really likes to do is, if you have bonus events, so they'll have four bonus events, or they'll swim the meets with the shorter events, they'll have no cuts. But if you want to do the 200s or whatever, you'll have to have a cut. So there's some flexibility there with
yeah.
trying to get more of your team to come. And then it gets really confusing. You got futures and juniors and seniors and a sectional meet here. So it's hard to like get together a relay, so you're going to have all these kids do a relay unless you're a mega team. So the one of the options is to then just gather everybody and say, hey, we're going to ISCA because there's going to be some fast kids there, and,
There you
and
go.
we're going to be able to race, and then everybody can go to one place. The coaches have a little more, sanity with the end of season, tapering. You're not going to have people going in all different directions. So, yeah, you can't say anything, negative about the way the ISCA meets, are held. So that's one of the big, staples or reasons why, ISCA was founded. But then they've also had a little more of some clinic backgrounds. So they used to do some coaching summits that had a pretty solid scientific basics. A lot of the researchers and stuff. Now they haven't done those too much anymore, but I think there's going to be another event coming up that's going to be a little more awards centric in spring of 2026. And with our background, I'm the webmaster, so I help organize the signups for the meets and such, and
Mm.
some of the PR types of stuff. But then we're also building. We have you can become an ISCA member, and then you get access to this global library for ISCA members. And there's more than 400 articles and lessons and older recordings and such. It's really valuable for your staff education or for your newer coaches that want to learn up on stuff. There's search bars. So that's all I think real solid, good education too. Yeah, we're definitely ASCA, the American Swim Coaches Association, is the granddaddy, the big boy on the block, but we're like the little brother or maybe the cousin, and what we do though, we do really yeah, I think there's a level of quality to it. We're going to bring a few more books into print. There's a sports psychology book that we're working with a gentleman out of BC, Canada, John Hogue. It's mental skills for young athletes. So that's all I think solid stuff, and that web stuff and the tech stuff is something that I really like, and we have a lot of new things on tap as well in that regard. We're teaming up with some people. We're going to have a CRM, a client relationship manager, and using all the AI skills and tricks that coaches should be able to leverage in an affordable way, save them time, keep the parents and guardians well aware what's happening, and allow some AI to filter into our administrative duties.
Yeah.
That was so we've had Jose Gallagher on here before, who's a great instructor and a great trainer, a great coach, but to see the global perspective of swim meet operation, to see the national perspective of ISCA and even the Association of Coaches, and understanding that there is support out there and that there is proper execution of swim meets and swim events. And there's earlier you had mentioned a filter, right? A filtering in and filtering out. It seems like you guys filter upwards of saying, hey, we're going to take care of this and it's going to be organized and we're going to get on the website. And we really have this machine well oiled, if you will. And you even talked about some of the things in the future with the mental approach and the book writing. I think that's where the fitness is headed, right? Understanding how to take care of your body, understanding prevention, understanding your mental approach. Do you see that too, or where do you see ISCA going, or what? You kind of tease some things on the horizon, or if you could hit an easy staples button, what would you want you guys' next big stamp of approval to be, your next big task?
Yeah, well, we definitely, need to keep supporting and sustaining the meets. And he's been
Mm.
adding new meets each year. There's another meet or two. We used to do some meets out in the West Coast. It'd be nice to maybe do those again. But so the meets are definitely the mainstay. But yeah, the thing that I'm excited for that we really haven't, I'm sort of talking about future stuff, is the AI tools and
Okay.
being able to use AI to help you find maybe local businesses that might be interested in sponsoring your team. Okay.
There we go.
Or have
What
a,
was that for All Things Aquatics, Nicole? If you get that hooked up, you can use that to promote next year's All Things Aquatics event. Mark, you're on the hook. Sorry, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, I would love
Sorry.
to do that. And then, and just the text messaging, I used to, I worked a little bit at Swimming World magazine. The publisher then was Dick Deal. And he said one way that you can lose a $50 bill is put it in an envelope and mail to a coach. They never even open up their mail, you know.
Sorry,
So,
if, knowing coaches and seeing their office, I'm just having flashbacks of the
Ah,
magazine sitting up in the mail. Sorry, go ahead.
having a system so that you never miss a phone call,
yes.
because it would then automatically, hey, I wasn't able to pick up, here's a text message back at you. Is there something I can help you with? And then they can say, yeah, is the pool open? Or it could be something simple, or it could be, when's the next tryout? Or, is the meet schedule like this? And if your AI bot knew that, it could answer 90% of those questions. And then if you're able to, then maybe you could jump in later, or you could see that conversation and then be able to make sure that they got the answer that they needed. And we're going to keep the community well informed. So I think being able to use some artificial intelligence for our operational stuff is going to be huge. And the way it is now, you could get an Instagram message, or you can get somebody's going to tweet you, or somebody's going to send an email or a text, and we can have a unified inbox. So then you can
Hmm.
sort of see what's happened, and then our other coaches might be able to jump in to use it, but would have the shared Rolodex. So a lot of these utilities that are more or less marketing driven, but can help a coach and help a program stay organized and be more profitable and more nimble with your
Yeah.
operations.
It sounds like what the swim instruction industry has tried to do as a swim lesson provider. They've tried to catch on with those CRMs and booking lessons. It sounds like you're trying to take that model, but expand it and specifically to your world in the coaching aspect and all the things that can get disconnected, but make them connected in your world. Is that kind of a fair analogy?
Well, yes and no.
Well,
With the swim lesson people, we've got a new alliance. So
oh,
Swim Influx Systems provides a turnkey, all-in-one marketing thing that services swim schools. And now
hmm.
we're going to be working with them, and they're going to help with the fulfillment part.
There
And
you
then
go.
we're going to add extra layers with the bigger kids. So
Okay.
yeah, we're going to build upon some of that good mojo that they've already got going. And
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got a alliance brewing. I was going to be talking about that this weekend a little bit. We have it in our area, and so yeah, I there's no sense in recreating the wheel,
There
Right.
you go.
and
Yeah.
there's also no sense in the marketplace isn't that big.
Fair.
We've got a finite number of teams and facilities and pools, and this is going to resonate with the techie type people. And there's some coaches that we know is going to take a while to get them on board, or get their parents on board, or whatever. But yeah, we're going to be working
Good for you.
hand in hand with those people that provide. And actually, within 2 weeks is the United States Swim School thing is going to go on in Phoenix,
Yes.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
our partner or alliance fellows are going to be out there from the
Nice.
yeah.
That again, and I'll go off script, and I know Nicole, you've got some questions about the podcast, but
Yeah.
for our listeners out there, that's why we do this. That's why we have people like Mark on here, so we can build those bridges and have conversations about what is water polo and how do I get involved. Well, you get involved by having a feeder system. You get involved by understanding what it takes in your community and learning about how to run proper programs. And so, again, just a great way to tie it all back together, Mark. Super impressive. Yeah.
Well, and to tie on to that, I mean, Navigating Neva is my podcast, but Navigating Neva was meant to not reinvent the wheel. During COVID, children obviously kept drowning as the world does, and we weren't reaching people during COVID. But my idea was there's no reason for me to make something new when everything exists. So I was in in the first few episodes, I was telling people what was already out there. I wasn't creating things when I already, from 20 years of experience, know what's there. So, for example, when Mark mentioned the swim influx, we'll get him to give me that link to that website. So if you're listening, when you go to Navigating Neva, you can just click on the link and know exactly what he's talking about and then pull that up for yourself. Same with the books that he mentioned. So what he's mentioned on today's episode, it'll be in the show notes so that you guys have access to that, as well as his podcast, because that's what aquatics is, a very small circle. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel when it's already out there for us to use. But we'll
Absolutely.
segue that into your podcast, Ready or Not, or Heavy or Not, not Ready or Not, Heavy or Not, how it's totally different energy than most podcasts out there. So before we started recording, you were telling us a little bit more about it. For our listeners, just tell us a little bit more about your podcast.
Sure. I started it in January 2025, and presently up to 52 episodes. We called the first season the first 50 episodes, and we had a rewind and ended that episode with an AI created song. There's a folk song on number 50, and we do a flashback of all the prior episodes. But yeah, we've been covering everything from swimming in Scotland to uh, what it's like to travel and having coaching zombies and mindset and supplements. So a lot of it's swimming, but some of it is the psych, and some of it's society type things too. I try not to be too much in current events. I think we did do a little beat down on that one film, The Swim Lesson, that
Oh,
was.
Oof.
I didn't hear
Do
that
you
one.
remember that?
What
I
episode is
Yeah,
remember
that?
I remember the video.
yeah. So that was back in, I don't know, episode 8, 9 or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but it was like that was a little more of a current event because the
Oh,
Academy
yeah.
of Motion Picture wanted to nominate this, and the LA Times were all about it. And we said, let's put the brakes on this, guys. Um, but so I like them to be evergreen. So it's a-okay if you could binge listen. And I don't really like in my podcast to have much interviews. So there are times when we do a little bit of an interview, but a lot of it is just what I call jump cuts. So we're just going to go right into it and go at it. And I'll even replay a little bit from other interesting podcasts that I've heard. There was two things from the Radio Lab. It's a NPR type thing. One fella had some big trauma when his brother didn't come back from a time when they were younger, and talked a little bit about some heavy things. We talked a little bit about the camper kids in South Texas and things of that nature. So there are some heavy issues, and then there are some other things that are not so heavy.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I thank you for listening, and I think I would love in the future to get more voices involved. And if you want to rant away, do it on your phone and send it to me, and we'll blend it in there.
Don't tease. That's how Nicole and I communicate as voice memos to each other. Only like 7 to 10 a day. But you've had some legends. I think Sue Nelson's been on there. You mentioned Ron. And so to your point, if you're a coach out there, if you're an instructor, or you're thinking about coaching, to Mark's point, yes, there's a lot of things discussed, but there's a lot of influential or legendary, dare say, voices that share their story and share their background, and you can kind of get a feel for what it's like to live this life and to, like you said, travel and schedule meets and every other weekend. And not that these are bad things, but it kind of gives you great perspective based on who you have out there and who you speak with. And again, I think it's just a great service, because oftentimes a swim coach is on one side, swim team's on the other side, water aerobics is on the other side, the pool operators are on the other side, and nobody's in the middle. And so just hearing how you've been able to, pardon the pun, navigate these waters. There's my pun for the day. It took me all episode, but I got it in. But seriously, not everybody can do that, right? We've had people on there who have told challenging stories of how they couldn't get their program launched, or how they had to really battle with other types of services. And I think you've shown a great job today of not only how you did it, but that it can be done again and again, whether it's a school system, whether it's a swim meet, whether it's a community service, whether it's competitive. You can incorporate games, you can incorporate coaching, You can incorporate operation success all into it if you have the right approach. And so again, I just appreciate your ability to, there it is again, navigate all those waters, because not everybody's had that type of success, and I'm glad our audience got to hear that.
Well,
So, go
my here's my long-term vision, and you guys can help. You know the Ted Lasso, right? He's
Yes,
the
sir.
TV, so he's talking about football, there's been a a lot of new documentaries on all sorts of sports, whether it's Netflix or Peacock and such. I would love to be able to have a Ted Lasso, but instead of it being, football or soccer, have it be a swimming thing. And a little bit like the pit is true to the ER room setting.
The
They
pit.
work really hard on making sure that the jargon is accurate, and
Mm-hmm.
they have the advisors. I think we need to do that with swimming and make sure that we can be teaching about aquatics and swimming, and then be able to have some of these stories unfold at the pool. So one day maybe we'll be able to maybe bootstrap it, or maybe find some others that are interested
Mm-hmm.
in doing something on like a TV basis with regards to making Heavy or Not a TV show. So that
I
would
love
be
it. I love it.
I love it. That's a great goal. I'll ask you in a year where you are on your
Yeah,
goals.
that's how the All Things Aquatics event happened, Mark. So be careful what you say out loud. And Nicole, in 6 months from now, you might have a TV script on your lap, because that's how this event happened
Oh,
in 3 days. It's because I made the mistake of telling Nicole my pipe dream, and now it's coming true in 72 hours. So be careful what you wish for, my man. You may end up
yeah.
with
We'll
Noah
do a
Wiley.
whole we
Yeah.
could do a whole season
yeah.
from All Things Aquatics.
Yeah,
So,
I just like to follow up on your wishes and see
yeah,
where they're going. That's
yeah,
all. I
yeah.
just got to
Okay.
guide you
Anyway,
in the right way. Well,
yeah,
as we wrap up the night, we were going to go through some quick hit questions just for fun for all of us. So, Wes, I was going to let you take the first question. Do you know
yeah.
what it is?
I do, because I pay attention. Mark, you've told a lot of things that you love about aquatics. What's one of your favorite aquatic memories? Whether it's coaching, whether it's a meet, what's something that really hit home for you in your career? What's one of your favorite stories about aquatics?
Yeah, I guess it was coaching. We were able to take our city league team and get out of the city league and join the WPIAL. And there was a year that I had my older boy as a senior and my younger boy as a freshman, and we won our section. It was like a huge deal, and we went to an away meet, and the other team, felt, oh, here comes those city kids, and then they looked up and they had suspended one of their stars because he had missed practice. And so they had their guard down. And our guys,
Yes,
yeah, they went down to that 400 free relay, and all four of our kids turned in lifetime best times.
that's
We
awesome.
won the meet by a whisker, and then that was, able to win our section. So, that
And
was
your
sort of,
sons were on that team, is that right?
yeah,
Did I
my
catch
sons were
that?
both on the team.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
That's
so,
awesome.
beautiful.
but it was a team effort, and it was, if that guy didn't get, fourth place in that race, we wouldn't have won it. So
Right.
everybody felt, it was like one of those glowing results. And
McFarland, USA, but in a pool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got, Nicole?
So my question is, what is one misconception about water polo that you wish everyone understood or didn't take that way?
Oh, it- I don't, what's really strange about water polo is, you don't know what's going on. You're battling the water, and you're battling your
I like
opponent,
that.
and then you can occasionally pick up and see where the ball is. And then there's a whistle, the boom, 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 so when you're playing water polo, you're oblivious to 90% of what's going on, because you're in such a trying to get position or trying to, and so,
You're in your own
there's,
battle.
yeah, for sure. And it's just a really crazy thing. So when you watch water polo, you just have to have a respect, for the players. And I think they get a lot of respect, but it's a pretty confusing game in certain levels, and there's a lot going on. So I just think that is using all parts of your brain and using all parts of your body, and it's it's quite a dynamic experience to be in a game like that.
I love that. I love how you start that sentence of you know what you're doing, but you don't have to know what everybody else is doing. And if you can know what you're doing, then you can control the moment. And I think that's a great way to look at it. And then kind of to tee this off, I'll let Nicole edit here. But again, to your mouth, to who's ever ears, who's a guest you'd love to have on Heavy or Not someday? Well, who's on your wish list? Who would you love
Ooh.
to see there?
I just wish for I guess the floodgates to open, that people just sound off and share out and feel that they don't need to be intimidated. They could just do a recording and send it to me. So um, we had one of the Eastern States Clinic last year. There was a panel, and actually we took that panel and broke it up into three areas. But Bob Bowman was on it, and a lot
Wow.
of heavy hitters, Mark Schubert and stuff. So they all had some really good things talking about grassroots swimming and leading up to LA 28. So, but it's more than just the big superstars. It's about those, the women that swim in Scotland, or the people in London that are having their pool taken away because of the water treatment plant or something. So I think I like to cover the big variety, and I wish people would listen and sound off.
I love it. That's how we get ahead of Smart List, and that's how we get ahead of Copies podcast. That's how we climb That's how you climb the majors. Is the good real life stories, Mark. That's how you get in the top 10 of national podcast ranking. So I've heard.
So there's a pool, I won't tell you where, somewhere within 50 miles of me, that I would love for this story to be on your podcast. So if somebody wants to just hit record and send it to you, I would like for somebody listening to me to send this to you. There's a pool within 50 miles of me that is a diving well, and the light bulb went out, and therefore the pool has never reopened again.
They
Not a,
couldn't.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to go any deeper. All of us here know the answer because we work in aquatics. We could all probably go fix the light bulb right now, but needless to say, the pool is not working. It's a diving well. It's close. Also, there's a person on TikTok, and my instructor sent me the video. This would also be a cool thing for yours. He is swimming Lake Powell. It's 10 days by him. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, not exactly, but
I don't know his name. I know his name online is it's White Block, and then he's got a friend following him, and tomorrow is day 10. So I've been following his journey. He's just solo swimming across the lake by himself.
Like Dana Torres, or what was that gal who swam the English Channel?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right now, but he's doing it right now.
Wow.
10 days, 10 passings, I guess.
He's going just all the way across it, and he put all of his stuff on. All of the gear he needed for the 10 days is 215 pounds, and he chose to put it on a paddleboard, not a kayak or anything else. He put it on a paddleboard, and then it's got a flag, and he's just swimming, and then the guys in the boat following him.
I love that, Mark. As soon as you started talking, I saw Mark's brain work and go, I got it now. You did. Yeah. I love how much you know about whatever this guy's doing, that all Nicole had to do was say a few sentences, and I saw your brain go, got it, oh, he's doing this, and he's doing that, and oh my God, I could see you check off the things that guy is going through right now. That's crazy.
Well, I now that you say the story, I remember seeing it online. Yeah, it's a long journey. When you said Lake Powell, at first I was thinking a different lake. I was thinking, So that's crazy.
Yeah. Again, proving the world of aquatics. Like, just we tell a random story. You knew enough about the situation. You know open water swimming. You know those challenges, and just to see that connection. Again, that's why we do this. Aquatics is a small world, and we're happy to have you part of it.
Yeah, that was great.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
I'm going to wrap up this conversation, and I'm going to record it. It's going to go out to everybody. So, Mark, it has been a very fun conversation. I was very excited to have you on tonight. I gave a teaser for anybody who's on social media. Now, if anybody that guessed it was Mark, they should tell me. I'll send them a prize. I don't know if they did that or not. But I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. And maybe next year we'll see you at the All Things Aquatic event, and you can even help us publicize it. And then we'll let everybody know they can find you on Heavy or Not.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and I did help publicize.
You,
I gave us a shot on one of the episodes, but
You did.
and
I
you
you,
meant
did,
with
yeah.
your AI technology that
oh
you're
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, with
talking
the
no,
about,
AI,
like a
yeah.
bigger
Well,
role, a big
oh, okay.
role. Yeah, a
For
big
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
role.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your support and good luck to you this weekend and everything you're doing.
Okay.
And again, thank you for everything.
Peace.
Yep.
All right.
Take
All
care,
right.
guys. Until next time, stay safe.